Today's episode comes with a disclaimer. This episode's about hypnosis. And at one point, about halfway through the episode, Mike hypnotizes Phil. At that point, if you find yourself getting drowsy and you're driving, pull over, take a break, listen to the segment, do what you got to do to wake up. Make sure that you don't fall asleep while driving. Be safe, guys. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. You just unlocked something in my brain and I don't appreciate this.
Welcome
to the show. It's pure chaos.
My new goal for that is to just sabotage whatever I think you're trying to
actually
do.
get stabbed.
I'm just gonna make it the worst I can.
You're gonna till I stab
objects.
you.
Keep all sharp objects off the table.
There is a knife somewhere in my. I have
Legal disclaimer: he's not gonna stab me. I hope.
One time we had a family member staying here. And Courtney and I were going on vacation, and I reminded her, and I was like, "Hey, I'm just going to list this off, and the circumstances aren't really worth getting into in the podcast. Mike will know, but there was a certain person in the vicinity, and I was like, hey, just so you know, here's where all of my hidden knives are in case you need them." And she's like, "Whoa!" And I was like, yeah, "Just in case, you know."
I might know who you're talking about.
There is a knife in this room hidden.
That person? Is it that person?
It is that person.
That's what I thought.
Speaking of that person,
you've known a lot of sketchy people, but that might be like that's the only one that you've ever made me like genuinely concerned about.
Because there is a concern.
Yeah.
But speaking of people of concern, so I came across this TikTok that it is the only TikTok that I've found that I like the comment section almost as much as the video that we had that went viral. Mm-hmm. Now I spend way more time. I still go back to that to look up stuff like when I'm needing motivation, but this one is good. So the title is, "Please tell me your favorite insult that kills them with kindness, like the kind that will get under their skin." So, you know, like the old Southern ladies, the
bless your heart.
Bless your heart.
I know. That's my go-to.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
This comment section is unhinged. It is amazing. And so some of these are just like, so I found one that I kind of use, but I've used it sarcastically, and it is, Jesus loves you, but I'm struggling.
Yeah.
That one is one of my that was one of the first ones that I'm like, I use that one. That one is one of my favorites. Do you guys have any kill them with kindness? Because our mom, she used to be able to just be the worst person in the world to your face, and you would think she liked you. She had that ability.
Yeah.
She didn't have to use these. I'm not as good as that. As we were talking above, that when people, we were literally just talking about this, when people like do something harmful or hurtful or stupid to me, my first instinct isn't, hey, I'm going to be kind. My first instinct is, how can I, like we were talking about driving back and the dude, like, I hope he breaks down so that I could pull up and be like, oh, you shouldn't have flipped me off, and then drive off. That's the way my brain thinks. Whereas Mike would have been like, hey, I'm going to pull over. I'm going to help you. I'm going to be kind because I want you to know how awkward this is because I love you.
Yeah.
You know? And we're totally different personalities. That's our first instinct.
Yeah. Pull over, help, and then be like, do you see why you shouldn't be rude to people? Because most people wouldn't have done. Like, you're like me. You want to explain, like, hey, this is why this is a problem. Fix it.
Yeah.
Tanner's like, I want to hurt you. I want you to feel pain.
I feel like I'm a good karma person. Like, I feel like if I see people at their lows and I help them through their lows, then someday when I'm at my lows, I can look upstairs and be like, hey, remember that time? Call up a favor.
Yeah.
That's kind of
with the good karma. I don't know.
That's kind of my whole philosophy as a cop too. Like, I try to not be a jerk to people because it's like, dude, you never know if the person that you could have been mean to or like unnecessarily rough with happens to be driving by when you're friggin', losing a fight in the ditch. Like,
Right, yeah,
you know, just like there's just no reason. Or like the next cop that has to deal with them, like maybe that's the day they go, you know what, I don't want to deal with this stupidity and
Our
pulls a
mom
gun
used
or
to-
something.
Yeah, our mom used to give me a hard time. She got mad at me one time because she said I was too optimistic. Because I saw the good in people even when they didn't deserve it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I was getting bullied at school by this girl at school, and you know, I came home and I was upset.
Her name
I
was
told her
Helga.
about it.
Okay, she was a big girl.
Helga, if you're listening, shout out to all the Helgas out there.
If your name's Helga, I love you.
So sorry for this.
Anyway, yeah. So I came home and she was like, and she started asking me about it, and I was telling her what she said and did and everything, and then I said, but you know what, she's really good at math. And you know, and I just started giving her all these compliments, and our mom was just like, she got mad at me, and she's like, "Why are you talking nice about this person? They're being mean to you. Why are you?"
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just who I am. I always disclaimer with the positive things I see. I don't know.
Right.
I've just always done that.
I'm literally the opposite. I have already decided the 15 ways in which I hate a person.
In your defense, though, you are aware of it, you are self-conscious about it, and you like you push yourself to think through the.
Yes.
You're like, okay,
I have
hold
to.
on,
Yeah.
pause. I don't know what they're going through.
Yes.
I don't know why they're doing this. I don't get to judge. I want to so bad, but I don't get to.
Yes.
Like,
That's
you are
actually-
good about doing that.
That's actually a solid point, because through my life I've had to realize that whereas something that it almost naturally comes to you, I realize the positive in it. So therefore, I have to intentionally, and over the years I've gotten to the point where I intentionally think through. So my first instinct is I want to punch you in the face. But then my second instinct is that would be a bad idea. Think about where they're at in their life, what they were going through. You know, they could have had a harder, the harder life than you, or maybe their day just hasn't been good, or maybe whatever, and so then my second instinct is, okay, so how can I be polite to them? And so then I'm not naturally optimistic. I'm forced optimistic, and like I force myself to think of the positive.
See, and I have to work the opposite way, because really easy to get taken advantage of when you are.
Yeah.
You know, our mom's a perfect example. She got taken advantage of her whole life. You know, she's
Right.
passed
I have
on
to
and stuff.
really work the opposite way, because I have a legal obligation.
That's true.
You have to.
to at least deal I hate when I roll up on something and it's like, this sucks, and this person's mad at me because I got called here and it's not my fault, and I have to like push myself to be like, look, we have to deal with this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to. I hate that you put me in this situation, but I don't hate you for it. I want you to understand I'm not here to cause you pain or suffering or make your life more difficult, but we have to deal with this.
Yeah.
Legally, I have to deal with this.
Right.
So just bear with me.
So, what were some of the other comments on that? I'm curious.
so, well-
I need some ammunition, I think, for my.
I need cold. I need cold in my
do-
body.
Let's do drinks.
Yes,
So
sir.
Mike did the C4 Russian roulette. So he bought a bunch of energy drinks. We had to just random select them. I got luckily the C4 Jolly Rancher Green Apple, one of my favorites.
This is the first time on this podcast that I am not looking forward to drinking this, but it's hot in here and I need this cold.
What are you talking about? We drank Celsius on the show.
That was masochistic.
So Philip drew the bullet, man. He got the bullet.
I got the
That
Arctic
one's-
snow cone C4.
Yeah,
Shout out C4 one
it's
time.
got
I
like
a lot of
twice
your
the
flavors,
caffeine of
but-
these
yeah,
other
it's
two.
a
So.
Dude, it's bitter. It is bitter.
Yeah.
It is straight caffeine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can taste the
taste
caffeine. Yeah.
It is not pleasant.
not a
It's
good
not
thing.
a pleasant one at all.
You're welcome, by the way.
Thank you. What are you drinking?
And I got the Hawaiian Punch C4.
Ooh,
It's a tasty one.
I did order a case of the cotton candy Rise. Kind of excited to try that. but
Does
it'll be
Sam's
here
have
next week.
that?
I bought it off the TikTok shop.
I saw cotton candy
nice.
Alani when I was at the store, but it was way too pink for me. So I was like, no.
Alani New has really good flavors, but I don't like the fact that they have So it's a small can,
Right.
but it still has the 200 milligrams caffeine, and so you can taste the caffeine more. And I'm like,
Or
do the same flavor and just make it a full can, and it would taste so much better.
or they overshoot on the flavor to cover the caffeine. Because Ashley tried one the other night.
I do like them, but
Ashley tried one the other night. I can't remember what flavor it was. This is the new one that Walmart got a hold of. Like the flavor wasn't bad, but it was just way too much.
Well,
it was so potent.
They're definitely marketed as a feminine
which,
energy drink, which I think is kind of. But if you think about it, though, how many of these are marketed for masculine gym bros and
Monster.
stuff?
It's because
White
it's
Monster.
caffeine.
So I don't know. Yeah. So I don't know. It's funny, but I mean, it's marketing. It's what they have a target audience, and
now-
the skinny tall cans
they've got
a seller,
quote unquote pre-workouts for gamers now. And I'm like,
They've had it for a while.
I know. And it's like, it's just caffeine.
Yeah.
Like, just drink an energy drink or
Gamer subs.
buy a pre-workout.
You can sponsor us though.
Yeah, we actually...
I'll get sponsored by Gamer subs.
We actually are...
Play video games.
We are sponsored by Dubby, but I haven't set up our code, so we're not going to advertise for them. So if you buy a Gamer Dubby, hold off and I'll get you our code in a few weeks. And we make decent money. I think we make like 20% back on it,
nice.
something like that. But
That'd be
anyway,
sick.
all right. Same time. Same time.
Same time.
Wait.
3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, mine was way too quick.
It's all right. It was delayed. Okay,
know
that
what?
is so good.
Bright side, I dry scooped.
favorites.
I dry scooped my Insane Labs psychotic pre-workout this morning. So relative to that, this does not taste that bad.
So
In the ancient days of giants, when the earth was wild and free, a creature roamed the valleys, cloaked in mystery. Is he born of angels' blood and man, a Nephilim so tall, or a shadow of the fallen, yet heeding the Maker's call? He's a biblically accurate Bigfoot, with a lineage from the skies. Not a myth or legend, but a truth that never dies. Is he a remnant of the Nephilim, a titan standing tall? Or does he have the word of God upon him, the last to hear the call?
speaking of dry scooping, the story, if you didn't hear it last week,
It's still pretty bad though.
I know there's some of you guys that skip our energy drink sections, and if that is you, I apologize. You're going to have to go listen to the energy drink section last week, because Mike actually has found out, so his son Caleb experienced it.
Caleb, I reached out to him and I was like, hey, because he's listening to the podcast, and I said, hey, when you get to that episode, I was like, I can't remember what kind of energy drink it was, or energy pre-workout it was, and he laughed and he was like, you're gonna laugh. It was Rise, and Rise was the brand of energy drinks we drank last week, so there was a weird connection there.
So
Nice.
it's kind of funny.
there you go.
Nice.
Okay, so I'm going to read some of the better ones off that are trending at the top.
Kill him with kindness. Heat burning coals.
This one is powerful. I hope you have the day you deserve.
I
That's the
love
one that
that
just
one.
popped in my head.
I love
right as
that
you were
one.
in it.
Oh, that one, because that can be a compliment, or that could be
Right.
It can
and
be
you
whatever,
know,
and
deep
you know.
down,
Yep.
deep down, the recipient of that comment knows.
They know
And
exactly. Yep.
their reaction will tell you that they know.
Yes.
That's not very nice. Well, then you weren't being nice.
Then let's. What was the one I had come up with? Stop. Now think through what you're complaining about, or something like that. It was on a past episode. I'll have to pause.
I don't remember.
Monkey loved it, and so he texted. He was like, "Oh, I love. I have to remember that," and he used it. I need to go back and find that. 'Cause it was a really good one.
Monkey, if you catch this part, I don't know how long I had a Discord friend request pending from you, because I don't look at my request stuff. I wasn't ignoring you.
Yeah.
If it was like 2 weeks, I'm sorry.
Speaking of last week's episode and Monkey, he actually went and he found the CIA document and posted it in the Discord. So if you're not in the Discord and you want to go see the CIA document that we ended the episode with, you can actually go read through the document.
Yeah, I was grateful, because I was, when I find stuff and I tell people about it, sometimes, we talk about other people thinking you're crazy, but sometimes I think I'm like, nah. But, Monkey, I appreciate that. It made me feel like I'm not as crazy as I felt I was.
I was crazy once.
Bro, from being on this show and doing it for the last 9 months or whatever, I have realized that most conspiracy theorists probably aren't as crazy as you initially think they are.
Right.
A lot of them have really thought through a lot of this stuff. And the reality is that our world is a lot crazier than the like black and white image we're like presented with.
I also think that a lot of it comes down to your interpretation of the facts that you have.
That is also
because most of the time what people like conspiracy theorists theorize is based in fact. Like it's pretty rare that it's not based in fact. It's just a matter of how you interpret it, like what you think the cause is for the information that you have. Like what is the truth behind it?
And how you apply it to your life. Because whereas so my mindset is, okay, our government is corrupt and they're not actually for us.
What?
Does that cause me to buy a bunker and store 15 years worth of food? Or does that cause me to...
Hey, don't call me out like that.
Or does that cause me to go on the other end of being a Christian, of just like, you know what, honestly, Scripture warns about the kind of people who try to dig in and hide from judgment. And it doesn't turn out good for those people. And so my mindset then goes to, how can I just make the best of the life I have? Because realistically, if the world does end and we are, and the people are stuck in a bunker for 15 years, is that the kind of life I want to live anyway? And I'd rather be the first one gone. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't want,
absolutely.
Either depending on the circumstances, there are obviously the different things, different scenarios. But okay. So I want to get back to. Were you going to say something before I?
No.
Okay. So I want to read a couple more of these because I did promise. So
I was just really appreciating like how many exits we take on the conversation highway, and then we just hop right back on. We just hop the curb, and there we are again. I love it.
I blame it on the caffeine, but this is just the way my brain works.
You ever tried to derail a magnetic rail train? Mag rail train?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's what we do. Yeah. It's just like the magnet forgets that it's there once in a while, and it's like, wait, hey, come back. You're the magnet.
Part of me hopes that people with like ADHD can listen to this and just feel comfortable.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just a show for you. Scratch that.
just bounce.
Like,
bounce
hey.
all over the place.
So when people are like, hey, I love your show, then I'm like, you have ADHD, don't you? Anyway. All right. The next one, going back to the kill 'em with kindness. The next one is, I love how comfortable you are with being wrong.
Ooh.
So, but that one's not quite as kind, but it is a, hey, I'm letting you know you're wrong, and I appreciate
that's confidence. A very like mic drop.
Yes,
I'm done with the conversation when I like that. Yeah,
there, and some of these are just straight up like rough.
I wish I had a better memory because I've seen so many of these that are so good, and I just fail to remember them properly. Yeah. Continue more.
The one that I think this one is just brutal. You just simply say, hey, really calmly, just hey, you have something in your teeth. Because instantly it'll disarm them. Mm-hmm. And whether they have something in their teeth or not, now they're worried about how they appear. And so now they're a little more self-conscious about the way they appear.
Okay, you guys want to know what so I work at a middle school. Do you know what I do to the middle schoolers when they're just rambling and talking and I need to get out of that conversation? What I do is I look over their shoulder like this. Yeah. And then as human beings, when somebody looks at something, everybody in the room looks. And so they look and then I just walk off. So when they refocus, I'm not standing there anymore. And so
dude,
I do that. Or I'll look up at the ceiling. I look up at the ceiling, and then I walk away.
Dude, I'm going to use that.
One of my favorite teachers in high school.
Oh yeah, Shelmo's great.
Shelmadine. He taught psychology, and he would do it in the middle of our class. And if you looked, you had to finish the rest of the class standing up. It was like a punishment.
Oh yeah.
What?
And so it got to the point where I was just talking about Mike.
He was hilarious.
He was amazing.
Oh my gosh.
There's a few things that he did that psychologically we can get into it later in the show because we're talking about brain stuff. But to this day, when someone says 1 + 1, my first instinct is to think 3 rather than 2 because he drilled it in our mind when he said 1 + 1, we had to immediately say 3. And if we didn't immediately say 3, then there was some sort of like a punishment. And it wasn't like a real punishment, but it was enough that you didn't want to receive it. Like you would have to come to the front of the class and like recite something or something like that. And so then to this day, and that was when I was a senior in high school. And so to this day, when someone says, what's 1 + 1, my brain immediately responds with 3. And then I go, 2. And so the first instinct, and so that actually, and part of what he was proving was information, like fact, what we know as a fact, we know it is a fact because we were trained it in as a fact. So there's a programming that can happen in your brain that you can be taught something that's not a fact, but because it becomes programmed, it becomes a fact. So when someone says, what's 1 + 1, my brain immediately, the fact is in my brain is 3. But reality, then it's like, no, it's
we're gonna
2.
we're gonna do that to Phil in a little bit.
You could get really deep with that.
Yeah, and that was
Like
part
that,
of the reason
the
he was my favorite
psychological
teacher. And that's honestly, he was a lot of the inspiration of why I wanted to go into psychology. When
He's a
I
big
ended up
reason
in
that I
college.
went into being a counselor too.
He's
Like,
awesome.
I have a few counselors that were really
Yeah.
great.
I had him.
He was one of them.
It was, and this
He
is
was my
maybe,
PE teacher actually. When
Really?
he became a counselor.
My
crazy.
My high school PE teacher would just, his punishment was that if you fell asleep during class, he'd throw a football at you, and if you tipped back in your chair and he caught you, you would have to spend like the rest of the class like standing at the side of the room holding your chair by the legs directly in front of you at arm's
That's a
length.
punishment.
That's a punishment.
But,
But it's,
Yeah.
good delt workout. Front delts.
It's true. Shelmo, I had him. It was kind of a weird scenario where 'cause he was my counselor in elementary school. And then in 5th grade, so when I would have gone to middle school, we moved. And then when we moved, he moved the same year and became the middle school, high school counselor. And so he was actually my counselor my entire college or my entire elementary undergrad, or what is that a term?
Secondary education.
K through 12. Yeah.
Yeah.
My entire K through 12 life. And yeah, he was awesome at what he did.
Yeah. Well, and so like for listeners and stuff, because I thought about this when we talked about last week, when we were talking about the graduations and the reunions and stuff, and I was like, wait, like Tanner and I didn't graduate from the same high school, but we're brothers, and so just for clarification's sake, like when I went to college, our parents they moved, they tried to hide, but I found them. They'd moved down the road to Hemingford, and so Tanner spent most of his time in Hemingford, and I grew up in Alliance, Nebraska. But yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
What else we got for comments?
Yeah. So
Give me a couple more before
yeah.
we finish this.
this one's good. Did that come out the way you practiced it in your head, or do you want to try it again?
I like
That was
that.
pretty good.
I like that.
That's pretty good.
I would maybe like, did you practice that in front of the mirror? Because it probably looked a lot better.
Yeah, for real. That's
Did that sound better in your head?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You can mix that one up a little bit.
Come back again when you can't stay so long.
That's aggressive.
Dang.
That's
Dang.
Aggressive. That's aggressive.
You're mad at your dad, not me. So I forgive you.
That's a punch in the psyche.
That is depending on who you say that to. That's either going to be like a what or a.
People who are happy with who they are don't insult others. So if somebody's just insulting you,
Yeah.
but then that's charged. I don't necessarily agree with it because I'm pretty happy with who I am, and I insult Phil all the time.
It's out of love, though. It's different.
Exactly.
Is it an insult if it's out of love? I don't know.
No. I think it's character building.
Yeah.
They say ignorance is bliss. You must be a really happy person.
Ooh, all right.
This one, shout out to Mike and I's sister. She actually used to use this one, I'm pretty sure, frequently. At least I feel like she did. Said, I neither have the time nor the crayons necessary to explain this to you.
Yeah.
That one's
Yep.
good. Yeah.
I've heard that one before.
Yeah.
I think I've
It's-
heard all these, but they're good.
Yeah, it's like
they're really
it's like
good.
a collection of.
And I've said before, hold on, and I get him to stop talking, and I'm like, let me get my crayons real quick. I've said that to somebody, and I don't remember the context, but I have said that one before, and maybe that's where I got that from, is from our sister.
Maybe, and I'm just, Mandela affecting it, thinking that she's the one who said that. But
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll give her credit. It's a good one.
yeah, It sounds like something she would say, I guess, more than anything. This one's, it's not that you're a liar. You just know so many things that just aren't true.
Okay.
Apparently that's a Reagan quote.
I had to think about that one.
Yeah. I love telling men that I love their pixie cut.
Wow.
Or when someone
He is cracking himself up.
This is going to be a good
when
one.
someone confronts you, just kind of like spur of the moment, you just say, "I'm sorry, I don't have any spare change," and walk off.
Nice. Nice.
All right.
This is actually a good one. This one I actually do really like this one for practical purposes. I could have used this a few times in ministry. I'm not even going to lie. We can finish this conversation elsewhere privately unless you really need an audience.
Ooh.
Because I've had people
I
who
like that.
confronted me after a sermon publicly were just like irate, loud, trying to gain people's attention. Like people, they wanted people to hear this. And luckily I had Courtney standing next to me, and Courtney stops in and she's like, "We're done." Because if you know me, when someone starts doing that, we talked about it, and I started getting like, whoa, like you're putting words into my mouth that I didn't say. Like, and there's that, what is it? It's the justice seeking part of me.
Right.
I need the truth to be known, and the truth needs to come up now. And so I started like pretty getting frustrated because this person was basically, for long story short, they were accusing me of being anti-Semitic because of the way that I worded something, because I said that, you know, the Jews condemned Jesus to death.
Right.
Yeah. It's in the Bible. And they were like, just making a scene. And accusing me of but it was, I wish I would have been able to use that. But
Yeah.
Courtney stepped in and was like,
No,
we're
I
done
like
here. We can have this conversation in private. I think she did. She's like, we can have this conversation another time in private.
It has an air of professionalism to it.
Yeah.
It really does. Like,
Yeah.
like to say, you know what, hey, I would like to finish this conversation
and there's authority
in private.
behind it.
Yeah. Or do you need the audience to be here for
Yeah.
this?
There's because
I like that one.
Yeah, I do too.
I would use that one, and not as a
No.
not
there's
as an
authority
insult, but
behind that, because
genuine.
there's
Yeah.
genuinely, that's
Yeah.
a good one.
there's no good reason why you can't. Like, there's no
Right.
good reason not to do
Yeah.
that.
Plus,
and so
if you know
there's
about
no-
anger and de-escalation, like,
Yeah.
if you can get them in private, that takes that
Yeah.
3-4 minutes for them to everybody to calm down
right.
before you have the conversation.
Yeah.
No, everything about that is.
I like that.
That's just a winner. That's a conversation ender.
That one's filed away. I like that. Yeah.
I really like that one. And then, we can end on this one. I mean, there's so many. If you want a link, I can give you a link. I might drop the link to it in the Discord on the episodes tab. But this last one is I don't know how you would start it, but it basically says you're a victim of your own thought process.
So much truth behind that.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
you
a
are.
good one. Yeah,
You are.
yeah. And so this thread, man, is a good thread, and I felt like it was a good starter because today we're talking about hypnosis, and I don't know. Do you guys want to get right into it, or do we need to hit a couple of rando? Oh, I did want to talk about, before we do dive into it, just as a news announcement kind of thing, that Mount Etna erupted.
Yeah, it was reading about
Massive
that.
eruption, and then there was another mountain I saw this morning in the Philippines that erupted, and then they're saying that mile-wide volcano is supposed to erupt in the next week, something like that.
Right.
There's a lot of volcanoes.
I sent you a TikTok that somebody was saying they predicted a while ago that there would be some of this stuff going on, because apparently there's like kind of a magma system, like an area that's kind of connected between several places like that, that's become more active, and it seems
As
like
long
that-
as like
I
Yellowstone
didn't look
holds
into it
on.
much.
Well,
So,
apparently- so
'cause
2012.
Yellowstone's locked and loaded from all the stuff
Right.
you read about Yellowstone.
Well,
But
yeah, which I don't think Yellowstone's going to explode or anything right now, but
Right now.
there was that one. It was a dormant geyser that blew up. Do you remember?
I saw that.
last year?
Yeah.
I saw
Well,
that.
apparently yesterday. Was that yesterday or this morning? Apparently it went off again.
oh man.
And
Yeah,
so
I didn't read that.
that's way more active than it used to be.
Yeah.
And now the thing is, those things happen because it's a changing ecological environment. Yes, it is. But when you have 15 billion volcanoes going off and these things are going off in Yellowstone, that's when I go,
And 15 billion, that's just an estimate.
Okay.
That's
Real
that's
quick,
okay.
I gotta ask.
I'm guessing. I'm just out of left field.
Real quick, I gotta ask. What's your favorite movie that's like based on something like that, like a geological event or a world end event or something like that, like anything sort of in that general vicinity? Because that bit reminds me, honestly, I don't know why it reminds me more of this, but it reminds me of Journey to the Center of the Earth. That's one of my guilty pleasure movies.
I love that movie.
It's such a fun movie. I like Brendan Fraser.
I like
That was a great
Journey to the Center of the Earth 2 with the
Journey.
Rock.
Yeah. Journey 2.
Journey 2. And when it was in 3D.
I usually
And
come
then
across those on
peck
accident
popping.
too. Not even on
For
purpose.
real.
And then I end up hooked.
Oh, I love it. And then they're in the peck popping scene. So I went and saw it in 3D. And so when the Rock is like peck popping and he throws the berries.
Oh, yeah.
It was in 3D, so the berries like came back at you.
Oh,
it was
that's
so
sick.
stupid, but I loved it. I loved it so
Dude,
much.
the era of 3D movies was so great. It wasn't because of 3D. It was just the movies that they made were fun. Like there was passion behind it. Like people cared about we're going to make this cool. It doesn't have to be the greatest movie of all time. It was just they were fun movies. They were good movies.
Yeah.
And what killed 3D movies was they realized, so for every ticket you sold, you made $3 or $4 more per ticket because it was in 3D. So they started making everything in 3D, whether it was supposed to be in 3D or not. Because like Avatar in 3D was phenomenal.
Right.
But then the Saw 58 in 3D was like, what? Why is
Yeah, it was like
what are you
3D
doing?
for the sake of 3D.
Yeah,
Like,
and so it
lost
ruined
story.
it. So then people were like, I'm tired of going and paying more to see a movie that sucks in 3D.
Yeah.
Just make it 2D so they
Imagine that. Greed killing fun.
What? It's almost like that's a lot of what our show is about.
Before we get into hypnosis, can I take a pee break?
Phil is back from his potty break. And man, so kind of on a heavier subject a little bit. So Phil, have you heard of the Canada's MAID service? MAID?
Nope.
So there's a handful of countries where it is self-assisted unaliving.
Oh, yeah.
is legal. And Canada is one of those places. And they just passed legislation that there is no legal age limit. The only criteria now is that you seem to understand the impact of what you are deciding. So so now they're putting it into the hands of an independent person who then has to decide, oh yeah, they understand the gravity of what taking their own life means.
You're asking somebody to make a rational decision about something that is completely irrational.
Completely irrational.
Completely, like, biologically, genetically, like, everything about that is just against instinct.
And the thing that I think makes me the most upset about it is that, as usual with these stupid decisions, they made it completely illegal for the institution that is doing the MAID service to contact the parents of kids who request it. So not only is it they don't have to contact them, they legally are not allowed to contact the parents. So if you have a 13-year-old who goes to try to get the MAID service, the hospital can't even tell the parents, hey, you have a 13-year-old that's struggling.
Right.
And there's no obligation, no expectation, and not only that, but it is full-blown illegal. So you could like in Canada, a parent of a 13-year-old, that 13-year-old could go in, have the service done, and just blindside the parents, and then after the fact, they would contact the parents and say, hey, your child has used our MAID service.
Right.
Dude,
that's messed up, dude. It's crazy. And it blows my... I don't know, as a parent, I'm like, man, and as a kid who went through hard times as a kid and struggled with depression and struggled with those things, man, one of the things that helped the most was having people who knew I was going through it that could help me through it. And so, yeah, it's just this age of anyway, that's just something It's dark and it's heavy, but I feel like it's worth our audience knowing about. Because I know we do have some listeners in Canada.
That is...
Yeah.
That's dystopian as all balls. That is insane. I can't believe that's
crazy to me.
Like, I know that there's plenty of people who are on board with that type of a service, but not having an age limit on it and like making it illegal to contact, even if it like, dude, even just contacting like any loved ones for any age, like should always be like you should always, I feel like there has to be like a mandate or requirement to like try to redirect first. Like,
wait, on the redirect thing, I'm just going to cut you off. I apologize. Normally I'll let you finish. This is the best part about Canada's healthcare system, okay? If you want to get counseling, the wait time is 4 months average right now. If you want to get maid service, the wait time is 3 months currently. You literally, the wait time to get counseling is longer than the wait time to unalive yourself.
Having a wait time to get counseling is ridiculous.
Because of the way the insurance programs work.
I mean, that legitimately, though, even in America, like the wait time to get counseling, especially for kids, is the list is long.
It's so long.
It's tough to get kids. If you've got kids and you try to get them into counseling, we're short counselors compared to how many kids are seeking it. And that doesn't even count the number of families and kids that don't think they need it and don't want to go.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there's some benefit to that, having somebody that can listen and things, so
yeah. And that's the thing I think. So talking about, they do encourage you, but the wait time is literally longer to receive counseling than it is to receive the maid service.
So the other thing now, that
blows my mind.
There is no universe in which I agree that it should be allowed. But if you were going to allow it, I would think logically that there would be A, an age limit, B, redirection first, push for every other possible option first, and then C, I would think there would be like a wait time for you to like reconsider, like minimum like 6 months to a year. Like you got to make it a year and still be of the mind that that's what you want to do.
So consider this, like I blew out my knee and I had to do, if I wanted to have surgery on it, I had to do 6 months worth of physical therapy before they would even consider me for surgery.
Right.
This thing, if this is all legit and true, they don't have to go through, I would think you'd have to go through a vetting system in order to say, okay, we've tried everything. Yeah. This is legit. This is your decision. And that's crazy. Yeah.
You know how many calls I've either been on or heard about from coworkers where somebody wants to take their own life and within like a few hours, they no longer do.
Yeah. There's literally like a like 8 to 12 minute window in that depression where if someone has access to the means, that's generally what happens. If you can get them through those 8 to 12 minutes, and they come in spurts, but if you can get them through that, you can rationalize.
You got to hit that low point hard and with all of the right circumstances to actually go through with it.
Well, and coming from a religious point of view that I do, my thought process goes to, I think that the spiritual world, the spiritual realm, I think it looks different. I think it's a different dimension. I think there's appearance. I think there's, based off of my experiences, and if you want to hear about my experiences, go back to episode like 5 or something I shared about them. But I think in the spiritual world, there is an appearance to our emotions. It's almost like the fourth dimension. You can almost see like thoughts or so. I don't know. That sounds weird. I just realized as it came out of my mouth how that sounds. But I do think there is something visible to the fourth dimension. And I think that when you're going through that, I think you become very attractive to, for the people who aren't spiritual, an evil entity that would want to prey on those thoughts. And so, as soon as you do hit that moment, I think you become very susceptible to spiritual attack. And being able to get past that spiritual attack to a point where you can start to rationalize in your head again. Yeah, I bring up how many times you've been driving down the road and all of a sudden you have the thought, I should just drive off the road. Like we all have, I think we all have that thought.
Well, naturally having the thought of, who would come to my funeral is a natural thought for people to have.
Right.
Who would care if I wasn't here anymore? That's a natural, people think that. And that's not a suicidal thought at all.
Right.
That's just part of our mortality. Who loves me and who cares enough to be here for me.
But now add on, you have depression either chemically or environmentally, triggered. And now you have the thought of who's coming to my funeral. Now all of a sudden, there's the negative mind. Now you have the thought of I should just
those
drive
negative,
off the bridge.
intrusive kind of thoughts.
So you have that thought, and now all of a sudden you add the element. Now you've got I can just go in and again, 3 months. There is a 3-month wait. So it's not like you can just walk into the office and immediately get it done. So there is at least a wait. But the irony is that the wait is because it's covered by insurance, not because of policies, from what I understood. At least I didn't do a lot of
probably
research,
less people in the queue. To go.
Let me ask this: do you know what the legal drinking age is in Canada?
I have no clue.
I'm curious. There's a limit, right?
I had the same thought. Like you can't drink, can't smoke, but you can go down to the maid office.
Service?
Right. That's insane. That is insane.
So Tanner, I'm glad you brought up spirituality in that, because I know a lot of times with counseling and things, me being a counselor, a lot of times people think that counselor is like the scientific approach to helping people, and there's no spirituality behind it. But I will tell you, when it comes to like depression and hurting yourself and things like that, one of the cornerstones for healing is finding spirituality, and that is taught as a counselor to help them find spirituality, not necessarily to preach or teach or anything like that, but help them discover their own spirituality. And part of the reason I think, growing up in church and things like that is, getting past this side of religion where we are arguing about who existed, when they existed, what's true, what's not true, and digging in and finding those truths in that religion. And, I've found 3 of them that I think are just, they're true, and they make you a better person and make you happier in life. I think the first one is gratitude, being grateful, being thankful for the things you have. The second one, I think, is forgiveness, being able to forgive other people. There's a big healing that happens when you're able to forgive other people. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is hope, just that faith and that trust and that something better is out there.
Yeah.
And, and those 3 things are very, very, very deeply have been around for thousands of years as, the truth behind Christianity.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we just get into those arguments where we're trying to prove or disprove fact or not fact. And we miss the truth that's there, that those 3 things working together.
Yeah.
We avoid those feelings. We avoid those hard times.
Yeah.
And we get through them faster.
Yeah.
So just some thoughts.
Yes. And coming, coming through my Christian viewpoint of, Jesus tells us that the 3 that remain are faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these are love. It's very similar in line with what you believe, and it's so true. And it's when you think of like what heaven would look like. A lot of times think of like, oh, it's we don't have any there. I don't know. You can come up with the perfect world. But a lot of times the quote unquote perfect world is not. Like there was a study done where they had a colony of mice, and they made sure they had as much food as they needed, and there was plenty of space, and they literally didn't eat anything. It was a matter of a few years, and the colony ceased to exist because it was very quickly they started bullying each other, and there became this hierarchy. And there was some that were, had more power, and they were they were mice, and they were creating this world. And do you know what study I'm talking about?
I saw a similar study they did with AI and stuff too. More modern, but it's the same study.
Same concept.
I've read this one.
And it's crazy. And within 5 years, the colony didn't exist anymore because they just stopped producing, and they stopped having the mice stopped having kids. And so my mindset of what heaven isn't this perfect utopia. My mindset of heaven is almost like, what if all of us actually actively loved ourselves and each other? And I think that's a better glimpse of what heaven would look like. And we still, in my mind, we still would work. We still would have things, you know, we would have jobs, quote unquote, but everybody actively loves each other. And for me, that's a better version of what perfect would look like. I don't know. That's whatever.
This is off topic from hypnosis, but did our mom? Did she ever talk to you about heaven and her mom, about our grandma?
Yes,
she died. She was clinically dead in the hospital, and then she came back. They just took all the equipment off everything, and she came back, and she said she had gone to heaven. She had asked God if she could have one more year to say goodbye to everybody. And then she died 1 year later. And when they asked her what heaven looked like, she said, I can't describe it. I can't. Yeah. There's no words I can use that you would understand what I saw. I don't know. That's kind of a cool
in the long run, that affected Mom a lot, I think. I
think life, so. But. Yeah.
I really like your idea with that. That sounds more appealing to me than like the classical description of heaven. Yeah. Which there isn't a whole lot of detail either way, but I just like the idea of still having like a purpose and like things that you're doing.
Yeah. Not just existing.
Yeah. No, like nobody ever really. I that's an idea that has never like appealed to me that much. I know that it's like way better than the opposite, and I have to like the thing I've always told myself is like, well, you're. When you're in heaven, your sinful nature is gone. There's nothing left of that. Like the flesh is gone, and it's just you and God, and like that's enough. Yeah. But like, I really like the idea of there being more to it than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about this. So when Adam and Eve, in Genesis, when they sinned, God didn't then introduce work. He then introduced work would be difficult.
Right.
He didn't introduce work because of sin. He introduced hard labor,
right,
and that it would be difficult, and that you would sweat, and you would have to toil to produce.
Yeah,
they still worked, you know. But anyway,
right. All right, hypnotize me.
Totally.
Oh man! All right, so
can I just tell you what I found about hypnosis? It's been a few weeks since I actually did research on it, but I'll just say what I found as far as like the key elements to it, and then you can tell me how right or wrong that is, and like your experience.
Right. And I want you to understand too, I am not trained in hypnosis. I am not an expert. I just know how the brain works, and I know how to manipulate people.
You're not officially trained in hypnosis.
No.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody is technically trained.
I was trained in the streets. And we'll get into that a little bit too. But go ahead.
Okay, so basically what I remember finding, and I can't remember who it was that I like read his kind of points on it, but he's one of the top like guys in the country when it comes to like knowing how that like hypnosis stuff works. But the main things that he said were like things that helped and made it a lot easier were having someone in an unfamiliar setting, having some sort of authority or the appearance of authority, and then building a little bit of trust, like getting you into the habit of a very quick habit of doing what you're told by that authority person. Yes, compliance. Building compliance.
That's a big part of it. Yeah.
Yep. And then I guess that was kind of the main points. There was four things, but I can't remember what the fourth thing was. But anyway.
Yeah, so to understand, it's not like in the movies when somebody like puts a watch in front of you and you watch the watch and your eyes are getting heavy. And,
you don't have the spiral eyes? That's not real?
No.
Dude, that's all I wanted from this. Now I'm bummed.
All. So what that is, and I'll tell you that what that is what they're doing is they're watching for your eyes to get heavy. They're watching your eyes. This has nothing to do with you can do that without having you look at anything, you know? You got to kind of also understand that doesn't work like that. It isn't like making people cluck like chickens and things like that. It's messing with your subconscious brain is really what it amounts to. And the idea is to make your life better. I haven't come across any hypnosis that was meant to, mess with you. But MK Ultra, there's all those that with the hypnosis thing that the sleeper agents and all that stuff. So I don't know. Everything I've come across that's legit, and like my hypnosis stuff was all meant in a positive way.
Yeah. Well, that's, I mean, the ads for it are like to quit smoking and stuff like that, like breaking addictions.
So it's
things like that.
Yeah. So it's really just the power of suggestion is what it is,
right.
and whether you believe the suggestions or not. So kind of how it works is when you start to fall asleep and you get in that first part of falling asleep, you are factory resetting your programming in your brain. Okay, so like when you were a baby and babies sleep all the time, little toddlers learn language crazy fast. They learn things super fast compared to an adult trying to learn a language, because they are in that factory reset mode more often than we are. But if I can put you in that factory reset mode, I can fill your brain with suggestions and your subconscious brain takes that over. Okay. So some kind of things so you kind of understand how your subconscious brain works. If I say words like yawn, if I say the word yawn, it makes you kind of want to yawn, right?
No.
And if you're fighting it, if you fight it, like you can feel it in your jaw, you can feel it in your, and Phil's yawning right now just for me saying the word yawn.
I've always been susceptible to that one.
Okay.
That one is,
so your subconscious brain works kind of like a very loyal pet. It listens to your voice and it's looking for little clues. Okay. And this is the part of your brain that does things without your permission. You know, you don't think about breathing. Now you are, because I said breathing, right? So I said breathing, now you're thinking about it. But before I said that, you weren't thinking about it. That's your subconscious brain. Okay, so words like yawn are words that your brain has known for a long time. So like a loyal pet, it's going, wait, I know how to do that. And it gets excited. It makes you want to yawn. And if you fight it, it makes your eyes water. Now here's the other thing. If I keep saying the word yawn over and over again, I say yawn, 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 you're going to yawn. Oh, it's yawn. It stops sounding like a real word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah. Yeah. Because your brain is going, hold on, wait, time out. I thought that meant this thing. And it must not, because you keep saying it. Okay. Because you don't communicate directly with your subconscious. It's picking up things that you're saying and it's doing things and reacting. Right? So when I say yawn, yawn, yawn over, it stops sounding like a real word. So that's the first thing you got to kind of understand about your subconscious. All right? Now here's another thing that your subconscious does not understand negative words. So think about that. So if I say don't think about elephants.
Oh. It just omits the don't part.
Right. Now you can, your conscious brain can flip it and go, okay, I'm not going to. But the more you do that, the more you're thinking about elephants. Okay, think about like you hear a really bad song on the radio and you don't like it. And you try to get it out of your head. The more harder you try to get it out of your head, the more stuck it gets. Right? So your subconscious brain is doing that because it doesn't understand the negative words.
There.
Right. So like in schools, when I see rules on the wall that say don't chew gum, every kid in that room wants to chew gum because you put don't in front of it, right? So that's another thing your brain doesn't understand. Now, so another thing your brain doesn't understand is time. Your subconscious brain doesn't understand time. So like dreams are a good example of this. So I've had dreams where I am younger than my kids. That makes zero sense.
Right. Yeah.
But in my dream, it makes sense till I wake up. Right? Doesn't understand time. Generally speaking, if there's a clock in your dream, it has a really specific purpose or it's not there. And most of the time doesn't change. Right? So here's another one. If I were to say the date, September 14th, does that have any significance to you guys?
Nope.
No.
So if I was to ask you in a month, say, what was that date I said on the podcast? Now you'd say September 14th because you connected it to the podcast. Okay? Now if I say December 25th, does that have any significance?
Yeah.
So what does that make you think about?
Christmas.
Yeah. Give me some imagery. What kind of things pop in your head when I say
Christmas tree, elves, Santa Claus, presents,
See,
cookies, milk.
So what your brain is doing, your subconscious brain is doing, it's connecting those words, December 25th, to events that were either happy or sad, had some emotion connected to it, right? So your subconscious brain is doing that. It's not actually understanding what December 25th means. It's making connections based on those words. Right? So that's another thing you got to understand about how your subconscious brain works. Okay. Now, your subconscious brain doesn't understand fantasy. It doesn't understand the difference between lies and truth. So like in your dreams, you can have, last night I had the craziest dream. There was this zombie apocalypse and our only way out was to hop in a rocket with Tanner. We flew to the space station and when we developed weapon systems for taking out all the zombies on Earth. And I woke up and I was like, that was weird. But while it was happening, we were in it, But as soon as I woke up, I'm like, that's crazy.
Right.
That is crazy, right? All right. So, and the last thing I want you to understand about your subconscious brain is that it picks and chooses and files based on keeping you safe. So some memories just disappear because they don't have anything to do with you being in danger or, self-preservation, anything like that. You actually have several dreams every night. And I connected to dreams because your dreams is when your subconscious kind of takes over.
Right.
You have several dreams during the night, but you only remember the last one. That's why it seems like if you're asleep for 8 hours, sometimes it only seems like it's
5 minutes.
like 5 minutes. Yeah, like I just went to sleep and it's already time to get up because you only remember the last dream. And if you don't think about it right away, what the dream was,
It goes away
because your body's like, hey, it's safe. I don't need that memory. Right. So your brain, your subconscious does a lot of things without you understanding what it is. So, all right. So Phil, you ready?
Yeah.
So now I've got your trust, right?
Yep.
See, we talked about that a little bit. Yep. And your brain's kind of reeling and it's ready to accept some stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So, so a little disclaimer. I am not doing this as a counselor. I'm not doing this as a hypnotist. I am just doing this to kind of demonstrate how our brains work. And, hey, if you're listening to this and you're driving and you get a little lightheaded or you start to space off, pull over. All right. I'm not saying, anything will happen, but I'd rather be safe than sorry for all of our listeners. So, cause I don't know that anybody's ever done anything like this on a podcast, but so we're going to give it a shot.
It seems like someone would have, but I don't know. I've never heard it.
You would think so. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
All right.
All right. So Phil, I need to know from you, what is a dream that you have, that you haven't fulfilled yet? A dream that maybe something's getting in the way, like money or time or, something like that.
I got a pretty good car that I'm trying to work on, but money is an issue. Okay. It's taking time. I have to. So I want to get my Firebird all cleaned up and spiffied and looking nice.
Nice. What color is it?
Currently black.
Okay. What color is it going to be?
That's a good question. I'm thinking midnight blue with some white striping.
Okay.
Accents.
Blue. I like it. Okay. All right. So Phil, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get kind of comfortable in your chair over there.
I'm bad at that. I'm really bad at that.
Get your arms, just kind of sit out your legs there. All right. If you're more comfortable putting your head down, however you want to sit that you're comfortable. Okay. And I want you to go ahead and close your eyes. All right. Now I want you to use your imagery, your imagination. All right. And I want you to imagine that you are walking through a wheat field and you can hear the wind blowing through the wheat and rustling. You can reach out with your fingers and you can feel the wheat in your hands. And as you look up, there's a little rumbling in the distance, a little lightning. Really light. Some clouds move in and the rain starts coming down. It's really warm rain. And that rain kind of comes over your head, trickles down your face, over your ears. It's taking all the negative thoughts, all the fears, all the anger from your head. And it runs down. It runs over your shoulders, down your chest, over your arms, down your back, picking up all the stress, replacing it with happiness, replacing it with relaxation, all the way down to your fingertips, taking all the stress and fear and anger with it. And it runs down your legs, down your calves, off the end of your toes, leaving behind some relaxation, happy feelings, positive thoughts. And at this point, you feel like you don't have fingers. You can't separate your toes. And I want you to think about this midnight blue Firebird. It's got white stripes on it. Money isn't an issue. Things just fall into place where you can get this thing taken care of. And it's pretty exciting. I want you to feel what the steering wheel feels like. And as you put the keys in, you turn the keys, you hear it rev up. Man, this is the car. You drive down the road, everybody's watching, everybody's looking. Maybe a little envy. And you love this car. And it was worth all the time and effort you put into it. You can't wait to show it off to friends. And you pull up and you park it. You step out and take one last look. All right. Phil, how do you feel?
Pretty good.
Good. Good. All right, you can open your eyes. So the cool thing about hypnosis is it's deep meditation. Meditation makes you feel good. It's part of the reason we feel good after we pray and things, because it's a meditation. You feel good. Do you remember what we talked about?
Firebird.
Yeah.
Wheatfield.
Yeah. See, so a lot of people think you lose your memory when you get hypnotized, when you're doing hypnosis stuff. And unless you fall asleep, like if you slip in and you fall asleep
Right.
during that hypnosis, you're going to wake up and not remember some things, because that's how your sleep memory works. But
I started to panic a little bit when you told me I couldn't spread my toes.
it's weird.
I didn't
huh?
like that.
It's weird, right? Yeah. I like to point that reality out in the middle, just so you're still with
Yeah.
me. You know, so I don't lose you too far, but yeah.
Yep.
That's the idea. It's the power of suggestions, the power of letting your subconscious brain know that this is a reality, that this thing can happen, you know, and it takes the doubt out of those goals and those dreams and things. That's how I've used it. Our mom used it when I was a kid. This is where I learned how to do this stuff, because our mom, she like always knew what I was doing. If I was doing something bad, you know, or I had lied about something, she would, and I tried to figure out, and she told me one day that she hypnotizes me. So she showed me, and she would, as I'm going to sleep, she would start with like the Lord's Prayer. She would sing, "You Are My Sunshine," that old song. And she would legit, as I'm falling asleep, start asking me questions and getting the truth out of me.
This
She
is
would do that stuff.
this is the building.
Ruined something for
Did I ruin that song for you?
She used to sing that to me all the time.
It's a family song. Everybody sang it. That's why she used it, because it's familiar. That's what we talked. Phil talked about that too. You use things that are familiar and from an authority. She was my mom.
You just unlocked.
So boom,
You
there
unlocked
go.
something
That-
for me. And
the
mom
scene-
used to hypnotize me too.
This
You just unlocked something in my brain, and I don't appreciate
the
it.
scene
a whole lot.
the scene that you just painted is like the rising plot in a movie, and it can go one of two ways. It's either about to be like a really sweet, cool, like heartfelt movie, or it's about to become a horror thriller type beat. Like
Right.
that
was growing up. That's what was scary for me, was if she could do that easy. And that's part of why I started like studying brain stuff. And, you know, I was going to counseling. You know, my parents, you know, were divorced and things, and, you know, a lot of traveling back and forth. And so I went to a lot of counselors and things growing up. Some of them were great. Some of them were terrible. There was some of them that were so bad at counseling that I would flip it on them, and they would start like telling me their problems when I was like in third grade, you know, and stuff. So
Tanner's so upset right
so
now.
I wanted
This is so good. I love this.
I'm sure she did all that with love.
Yeah.
He does not. That does not help. Okay, I have a quick question. So, going back to like you mentioned the watch thing is unnecessary. Do you think
Yeah.
that's partially like a compliance thing? Like, I want you to focus on this thing. Just do that little thing for me.
So Phil, you talked about like the stage hypnotists that bring people up on stage.
Yep.
So what they're doing is, so a little behind the scenes for anybody who's ever been to one of those shows, what they're doing is you notice they bring up like a dozen people to 20 people on the stage, right?
Yep.
First things first, if you volunteer, you're already compliant.
That's compliance. Yep.
So you're already in that group. So then they divide the group even more. They'll ask you to do things like, okay, touch your neighbor, you know, okay, stare into your neighbor's eye. If you're willing to do those things, then yes, then they start to suggest that you are falling asleep, right? And so people that are playing along will start to comply, and then they become more relaxed and things like that. So they're not actually making anyone do it. What they're doing is they're selecting people who are compliant.
Right.
People that will do what they ask them to do.
Right. The more compliant you are, the better the show's going to be.
And so if you notice, like only 3 or 4 people are doing all the crazy stuff.
Right,
it's
right,
not
right.
everybody on stage.
True, yeah.
It's
You're just
very
narrowing down your...
They're narrowing the field of compliance.
Okay.
Who's going to comply and who's going to put on a good show. But because there's so many people on stage, it looks like he's hypnotizing everybody on the stage.
Right.
Right. So that's kind of how all that works.
Yeah,
which is probably why you never got picked.
Because I wasn't compliant enough.
Very compliant. You're doubting.
They could just see it.
Yeah.
So they can just
Not that kid. That kid, nope.
Nope.
That makes me feel
because
better.
you probably
about
have
myself.
a look, even if you volunteer,
He
you
looks
probably
like
have
a law
look of
enforcement
like,
officer.
you probably have a look like, I don't trust this. Yeah. Law enforcement. He's a cop.
He's a cop.
That was pre-cop. Pre-cop. Yeah, they did it in college. I don't remember what the deal was, why he was there, but I remember them having a hypnotist come when I was in college.
And
it was a college sponsored deal. And they're like, we got a hypnotist for you. Come in, everybody show up in which room is the big one? Is that not Scottsbluff, the other one, the ballroom? Yeah. I thought it had a different, because
there's two sides. That's the entertainment side of things, but like hypnosis, like what we do is just really just about relaxation and tapping into your subconscious. It's no different than any other kind of meditation. It's helping you to meditate.
I am going to download this episode on my YouTube, and I am going to play that section when I'm trying to go to sleep. I'm so bad at going to sleep.
So let me tell you what that will do. Okay, so let me suggest something, okay? Because the reason I asked you for your goal was it's kind of a test just to see how long now it takes you to get that card done. Okay? It's kind of a test, okay? But here's what I want you to do if you're going to do that. I want you to record your own voice saying that and listen to it before bed every night. Because if your own subconscious hears your voice saying it, it's way more likely to believe it is truth. Because remember, it doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality.
Right.
And the way I did it was that it has already happened. I did it from past tense.
Right.
So if you do that and it's in your voice, your subconscious starts taking over and say, why hasn't this happened yet? I've seen it. Where is it?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So
we're all kind of super chill right now.
I'm not.
Chandler's so upset.
I was until I started thinking about it again.
I hit you with the "You Are My Sunshine."
Yeah, because it broke open a memory of mine, and now I'm upset.
That realization. Dang it.
Because we've talked about this. How many times? We've talked about this quite a few times.
Right.
Ever since I did the deep dive on the MK Ultra, and then you listened to the episodes.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that mom used to hypnotize you, and I was like, oh, she didn't do that to me. Oh, she just got good by the time, apparently, because as soon as you said that, as soon as you said that she would sing You Are My Sunshine, that was the thing that broke open some of these memories. And all of a sudden now I remember mom doing that to me on the bed. And because I came into her bed and she was singing it to me. And then I just remember all of a sudden a flash and I'm crying. And my mom soothingly was like, so why are you crying? And I remember that now. And now
subconscious brain is fun, right?
I'm so mad. So mom did used to hypnotize me. I thought maybe I don't know, maybe I was the good kid or something. I don't know. Or I don't, you know what I mean? I just thought that maybe that was something she used to do. Something in her past life, when she.
Oh, Mike, that was a gift. Thank you. I want to know how many times she hypnotized me. I had this false sense of security that no, mom never used to do that to me.
And again, I don't know if she used it for anything malicious, but she definitely used it to keep me from, and I think in general, so I'm generally, I don't have a police record. I don't have, a whole lot going on. And a lot of that was because I knew that she was going to find out whatever we did.
Everything.
Yeah. But that's part of why she knew everything. Yeah. And she was so loving. Like you said at the very beginning, you talked about how she was very good about telling you you're being a knucklehead without saying, hey, you're a knucklehead. She was very good about pointing out that you messed up and still making you feel loved. Right.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like when she would do that. You feel thankful for it, you're grateful for it, but at the same time, you're like, I feel manipulated a little bit.
This is by far,
this
is by far the most uncomfortable I have ever seen Tanner, and I am.
His brain is just, he's got steam coming out.
It is really.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to function the rest of this podcast? Okay.
Like I said, I thought because I didn't have any memories of it. My thought process was either she was so good that I didn't remember it, and I won't have this memory, or she didn't hypnotize me, or she got tired of
in
doing
between,
it, or whatever reason. And then no, it's literally as soon as you said that.
Would it be fair to say I just MK Ultra'd you? I just brought you out of your sleeper cell.
Basically,
I imagine that's what it feels like.
You just crack through to that backside.
When
that
they
other
get
wall.
that keyword and they come out of it, and then they make this realization.
Dude,
I don't know.
Yeah. Like I said, that was like a scene from a thriller. Like it's
at the same time as
like it's about to be either.
It just depends on the background music.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly where I was about to go. I was like, it's either going to be like soft piano music, like sweet, or it's about to be that choppy descending violin. It's like, oh, this gonna get dark.
Yeah.
You're welcome, by the way.
I'd rather not.
If you need me to bring out any other childhood trauma, you just let me come by and I'll hook you up.
Hey, I wonder if you could figure out if you actually know if you or your friend was driving the night of your accident.
I don't
I don't know if you want to know that or not, but I wonder if you could
at this point. Yeah, I've made peace with it, but and I'm also pretty sure based off of
you've become more confident about that every time that we've talked about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I wasn't the one.
I'm really big on things happen when they're supposed to happen for a reason, because you would not be who you are doing what you're doing if it wasn't for that
right.
Night. And you wouldn't be the same.
Yeah. I have a fixation with knowing exactly what happened. And like, okay, this is kind of off topic, but the number of time, actually, maybe I wonder if you could, I'll get to that in a second. Okay. So I have a problem, and I think, I wonder how common this is with people, but I'm used to having a body camera on. And so when I'm doing things for work, I have that running. And if I don't remember exactly how a thing happened, I can go back and watch it. Right. And the number of times in the last 4 years where I have been doing something not at work and I go, what just happened? I need to watch that back. I can't watch it back. I can't replay it. I have to just try to remember. I can't pull it. I wonder
memory is so weird.
Dude, memory and mine sucks. It is horrible. Yeah. And I'm my little bit of ADHD crap. I get so like I just unfocus all the time. It happens so frequently and it's terrible. But I wonder, does your subconscious store stuff? Do you like that you are not actively paying attention to, or does that just get missed?
Well, and sometimes I think maybe it's insignificant, and so you don't really think about it. Because here's the thing too, like I knew all the hypnosis things were happening. I knew they happened when I grew up, but I didn't get a bad feeling about it, and there really was no reason to bring it up. Right. I mean, we had other things going on that were way worse than our mom trying to figure out if friends were drinking alcohol or things like that, And so it was just kind of in the back of my head until, on the podcast started talking about, memories and hypnosis and things. And I was like, wait, time out. I know a little bit about this,
I just wonder if some of those things because there's the number of things too, that like, I just forget. Even though I try to remember things, I forget them. And then later on, sometimes somebody will say something like, oh, right, that was what happened. I wonder if you can like unlock some of that.
So I was telling Tanner the one day too, there's a lady in England, and I was watching this special about memory and stuff, and she has gone around England for like 30 years, going to the different pubs, and she convinces the bartender that she's already paid when she goes to leave, and just creating false memories in these bartenders, and she is 100% at getting her drinks for free because she convinces the bartenders that she already paid. because she is very charismatic and she flips the words on him, and she looks very trusting.
That's sick.
Trustworthy and things.
In every sense of the word.
Now she says she goes back and she pays for it. It's just an experiment. She goes back and pays for it later, but she just wanted to prove that you could create false memories.
That's so wild.
But yeah, you can just create these false memories if you have that, that trust and that authority.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
Yeah, very much like that.
And sometimes, like you said, one of the keys is she looks, based off her appearance, trustworthy.
Yeah, why would she lie to me?
Right. And that's significant because I was, and this is, it's kind of on topic, but I was having a conversation with one of my good friends, Andy, and we were having the conversation about approachability, and he was like, well, I mean, this is something that I've had to think about. Or is this something you've thought about in ministry? Your appearance, people have already determined who you are based off of your appearance a lot of times, which we already know that.
Right.
But he's like, a lot of times people will choose to believe that you are the way you appear, even if you don't come off that way. So he's like, I intentionally do things when I first meet someone to help them to establish a different belief system of who I am. And he's like, so that's why I joke so much when I first meet somebody, and I make them laugh, and and he's going through all these things, and like making sure that my beard is trim and appearance. And even though I can still have my own style, I try not to dress too much like this when I'm preaching at a new church and all these other things. So that when he's more approachable and all this other stuff. And I started very consciously thinking about those things. And like when I do, like during Welcome Week and stuff
Phil,
like
I'm
that.
glad you're here to correct him when Courtney's not.
Words. But
you don't always listen.
Yeah, I go through. I go through and like I make sure my shirt is something that's like, right now I'm wearing a giant ape. Like this is not something I would wear during Welcome Week, even though it's something I would normally wear because I meet so many people during the first week, and so I make sure that my shirts are very like welcoming, and then my beard is trimmed, and the hat I wear is not a flat bill during Welcome Week because they've already decided that. And the amount of times that I've had people who like, they'll be in our ministry for like a year, and then it'll click, and they're like, Tanner, you're not a very intimidating person. And I'm like, bro, it took you a whole year to figure that out, and
you've gotten better at that.
Yeah, because
when I got here, you were not approachable. You did not appear approachable at all.
But the crazy thing is, I know.
I know that now.
I'm not the same person, but
your personality hasn't really changed.
And what you're talking about is biases. Like people have their biases again. They take one look up and down, and their subconscious brain again picks out all the things that are unsafe about you.
Right.
And if you can minimize those, you become more approachable.
Right.
I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy because so then going back to said a lot of words just to say, well, if you already look trustworthy and you already look approachable and you already look these things, a little bit of suggesting in that how easy it is for them to then jump on board. If I, approach somebody, and maybe that's why I used to get in fights a lot. If I approach somebody and I act a certain way, it's going to elicit a certain response because they already have that based off of my appearance.
Right.
You throw in your subconscious, so she appears trustworthy. So then subconsciously she does things to suggest I'm trustworthy. How much easier it would be for her to get you. Yeah, interesting.
Right.
So what can we get from all this? What can we take? Because I think there's some lessons here to examine.
Hit us, Phil. Hit us with a lesson.
Well, okay. So first up, I think it's important to recognize like the suggestibility of your brain naturally and understand how this can affect you and be used against you, because you just used it to get me in the mindset of I'm going to finish my friggin' project car.
Right.
But someone else could, and maybe has, used this to indoctrinate people into compliance for different things.
I 100% agree.
There was something else I guess we were going to kind of touch on that kind of connects to that. Do you want to get to that?
Well, just... Yeah, I mean,
because I think we're kind of
honestly, we might just do a part 2 on this.
Okay, I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
So next week we'll do part 2 on hypnosis.
For the moment, I think just learning to examine your subconscious and think about like the way you think about things and the way that you initially react to things, and being able to slow it down and actually critically think about something, because your subconscious can be useful, but it can also be detrimental. Like if you allow it to just direct what you're doing, if you don't stop and examine, like, okay, did I react to this with my conscious brain, with the part of me that's smart and thinks critically, or did I react to this based on, just survival instinct and like my base programming?
Right. And I think understanding, Tanner and I talked about this a little bit, that, just understanding how brains work and how the subconscious works and how, those connections and those biases and all those things kind of work together. You really just kind of get an understanding of what other people are doing and why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Or maybe if you don't know, you've got a good idea that it's probably not you.
Yeah.
You're probably not the problem.
Well, and I just think about, I'm talking a lot about my work this episode. That's unusual, but I think it kind of plays into it, because like the thing that I've always had to work on as a cop, and the thing that I've been told so many times by people who've been doing this a lot longer than me, is slow it down. Mm-hmm. Take a moment, reevaluate, think, and like just work through it slowly and methodically. And it's so easy when you're in a stressful situation to just go on instinct and just like, okay, this is what I got to do, this, and you get kind of panicky. And your subconscious does a lot of that work, and it can be useful if you know how to apply it. But like, it's also super easy to screw up when you're not thinking critically, and you have to think critically. And that's, a lot of what we talk about on this podcast, and a lot of like the things that we're trying to do, like,
you don't want to
it's critical thinking. You don't want to freeze, and you don't want to just impulse decide super important things a lot of times. If it's life or death in the moment, that's one thing. Your subconscious takes over, and there's nothing you can do about that. That's SNS.
Well, and you're in a rough spot, like career wise, you're in a rough spot anyway, because I don't care who you are. Everybody has a bias at some level against law enforcement.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's because you want to go a little faster on the highway or, whatever. Everybody kind of has a feeling towards it. So you walk into a situation, right? Yeah. So you walk into any situation where people are like, oh, great, law enforcement's there. You know what I mean? And so it's even, more important in your job to break that bias.
Well, and I will tell you, even so, having multiple friends who are deputies or, and even family members who have been troopers and stuff like that, even in as much as that has helped me to see police officers and everything as just like who they actually are and not the uniform, even having all of those friends, it's still, like you said, it's impossible to not have those preconceived biases.
Yeah, that's a tough spot.
Well, having uninvited authority show up to deal with you, it's just never good. Like, you never want that. Nobody ever wants that. You shouldn't want that. Like, it's not
Phil,
something
can I ask you, Phil, why did you choose to become sheriff deputy, correct?
Yeah.
When did you choose that?
Well, initially I wanted to be a game warden. That's a long story.
That's right.
But I don't know. It was just based on the way that I operate. It kind of made sense for me, just like the type of personality that I am. It just kind of works for what I do. And I think in a good way. We kind of talked about this earlier. I know that a lot of people don't like, a lot of people don't particularly like how hands off my agency is on a lot of things. They think we need to be more involved in a lot of stuff. I try to resolve situations in the most efficient manner possible and like the most convenient way for everybody that I can while maintaining safety, because I think that individual liberties should be placed over most things, including safety to a degree. There's levels to that. Every situation's different, but that's just kind of the way I think and operate. And so I had quite a few people tell me, I think you fit into that role well, that you're the kind of person that I want as a law enforcement officer. I was like, okay, well, if that's,
Okay. So first disclaimer, if you were pulling me over and not knowing you, I would completely trust you and know that you weren't going to do anything crazy or try to hurt me.
Totally.
You have just my own biases. You don't look like somebody who's threatening, but you look like you're an authority. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so
I think you look.
That's a high comp. Shut you whatever.
Sorry.
like, I would respect you because I'm pretty sure I could take you down.
You're wearing a jiu-jitsu shirt. I'm not getting in a fight with you. You getting a taser. Taking a ride on old Sparky.
In all seriousness, I'm just thinking because like Tanner has a job where people are coming to him with trust. They are coming to him with, I have this spiritual issue and you are the authority. Will you help me? People come to me wanting that.
Right.
And I think in a lot of cases, in your case, they're not looking for you to come and help them.
Right.
They're thinking you're showing up to, I deal with a lot of kids that they don't like the police around because that means somebody's picking up their parents.
Right.
Taking
Right.
them to jail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I
Right.
was thinking like as a law enforcement officer, what I don't know, changing that kind of mindset of how people feel about that.
That's a lot of my goal personally.
And I
as
think
a
you
cop.
do a good job with
I
it, just
appreciate
the
that.
times
Like
we've
that's
met, yeah.
that's the vibe I try to give off is
Right.
I'm here to do a job. I'm here to handle a situation. I'm not here to like bully you or submit you or cause you inconvenience. I'm just here to do my job.
Right.
Work with me and we'll get the best outcome we can. That's the vibe that I try to give off.
Right.
And maybe that's part of the reason I haven't really had a lot of like use of force incidents. Like I haven't had to deal with a lot of people wanting to fight me because I don't give off the vibe of I want to fight.
I would venture to say the same thing that you give off that vibe. So
I'm glad. I appreciate
That's a
that.
good vibe, man. Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Do I give off the vibe that you want to fight?
Yes.
Why?
Yes. Dude, so Tanner one time. Oh my gosh. Tanner one time.
The pastor wants to fight, but the cop doesn't.
He came, I was coaching wrestling and he came by to show off some wrestling moves. And when we were done, I legit could not turn my head to the left for like 3 years after that. He messed my neck up so bad on that, like just like grabbing my head and just throwing me to the ground by my head. You know, he's a big dude.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know. I've seen you lift when you get like upset, and it's actually like I get nervous. like I know better than to think you're actually gonna like hurt me or anything, but just like you just give off a do not touch vibe.
Every once in a while, I have to remind Phil that when I'm lifting his weight, I'm going light. And I'll do
It makes me feel bad. It hurts my feelings.
I genuinely am not doing it on purpose.
I know.
But I'll be like, man, my shoulder is really hurting. I need to go really light today. And then I'll put a weight, and then he's like, man, that's kind of heavy. And I'm like, sorry.
He doesn't like turn and like make eye contact or anything while he's doing the lift.
No, but I'm like, genuinely speaking, I recognize where people are at, and I see where they're at, and they're lifting, and I recognize people try to keep up with me. And even while you and I were lifting, I went, Mike, hey, you're going to need to lighten the weight a little bit. And you're like, I'll go ahead and try it. Yeah, I'm going to have to lighten the weight a little bit. And I'll
try it.
Right. And, and I'm not saying it because I've lifted for so long. I'm genuinely not saying it out of I'm being cocky, but in hey, I don't think you watched where I was at and you saw me do it really easily 10 times. Go ahead and lighten the weight. Don't hurt yourself, and I'm not trying, but it's so hard. And I've actually had this conversation. I talked to Courtney about it one time and I was like, how do I tell someone, hey, you are ego lifting without coming off as being a douche? Because you are. Because you are. It's impossible. And that's why, even in the weight room, I just don't correct people's form because I don't want to come off as that guy.
Right.
Because I do come off as that guy when I do. But
well,
anyway.
and I found too, people don't like when you correct. Even if they're way off, they don't like to be corrected. They don't like to know that anybody's watching them.
I have to remind myself, because you're the only person that I've ever like steadily lifted with. You're the only real lifting partner I've ever had. Mm-hmm. I have to remind myself that I'm not a wuss. I'm not a weakling because you make me feel like it. And then of course, like friggin' TikTok and Instagram shove people doing 405 strict presses in my face all the time. I'm just like, I am tiny.
Let me tell you, getting old is rough because I'm at the point where I'm getting pretty close to being 50, and like lifting is more maintenance than it, because there was a point when Tanner and I were lifting where we were leg sledding and we had 8 plates on each side, so 16 plates, and my son Camden sitting on the top of the rack holding 245s, and we were sledding full sets with that at one point. Like, I mean, you know, we were lifting for a while, and I've lost a lot of that. That's just time and just accepting that. And like when we were lifting today, me being like, oh, I got this. I don't anymore. And I don't know that I ever will again. But
okay. And the problem, the sucky part about that, and I'm already like getting bits of this, is that like it's not so much getting hurt sucks, it's you don't recover. If you like, it's not about like even if you have the strength to do something, you recover. Like the risk versus reward on the recovery end of things is horrendous. Yeah, like you just don't. I'm not even 30 yet, and I feel. I mean, I've been saying this a long time. Old's getting younger. I'm wore out. I can still, grow and improve and stuff, but like, I don't know. It hurts more than it did.
Yep.
Time flies.
Yeah. But
hypnotize me into turning into freaking young Arnold.
They're totally person who's probably never going to listen to this, but there was a guy when he was in high school. I was lifting at the YMCA in Alliance. I was pretty sure he was going to destroy his back, and I walked up to him and I was like, "Hey, deadlifting," and I was like, "You're genuinely," and I've decided I will correct people if they're genuinely in risk of injury.
Right.
And I walked up to him. I was like, "You are going to hurt your back. Trust me. Let's fix your form." And typical high school fashion, just completely ignored me. It was like, and literally said, "But I can do more weight doing it my way." Yep, you can, because you're going to hurt yourself. And moved on with my life, whatever. And then fast forward 4 years or whatever, he graduates high school and he's in like a junior in college, and he gets saved in Chi Alpha. It is now was one of my students. And I was like, "Hey, you remember that one time?" And he's like, "Yep. And I can't deadlift anymore because I screwed up my back." And I was like, huh. It was one of those very few moments where I was like, "That's right, sucker." But not that I wanted him to get hurt, but the cockiness in it. But anyway, so we're way out of time.
I was going to say, we need to.
And so I want to end on one more of the positive things.
Okay.
So this one said, "I can only explain it to you. I can't understand it for you."
Ooh.
And with that,
be self-aware, examine your mind.
I feel like that is what this podcast is. We are trying to explain it to you. We're not trying to make you to understand it for you. You have to do that on your own. So with that,
you just
we encourage you.
All of our listeners?
No.
Okay. Just making sure.
Maybe a little
Depends.
bit. But anyway,
Depends on the
do your own research on these things. Actually look this stuff up. Look at, whatever. And
don't be afraid to disagree.
Disagree.
Disagree with us.
Come to our Discord and tell us how much you disagree with us.
Disagree with us. Yes. Come and
give
tell
reasons.
us.
Please give reasons.
Come and tell us. With that, we love you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, do all those things.
Be your
Trust me.
biblically accurate best.
It helps to engage. Literally. Takes 5 seconds of your time. It makes a big difference on our end. Okay. Love you. Bye.
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 In the ancient days of giants, when the earth was wild and free, a creature roamed the valleys, cloaked in mystery. Is he born of angels' blood and man, a Nephilim so tall, or a shadow of the fallen, yet heeding the Maker's call? He's a biblically accurate Bigfoot, with a lineage from the skies. Not a myth or legend, but a truth that never dies. Is he a remnant of the Nephilim, a titan standing tall? Or does he have the word of God?